Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. It is Markets in the Morning. Let's go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is the blockchain backer bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Welcome to Markets in the Morning. Today is Friday, March 15th, 2024. This is Markets in the Morning, where we take a look at the price action of the cryptocurrency market, including the Bitcoin price chart and the altcoin market. Take a peek over there at the stock market, which is set to open up in the next 2 minutes, along with taking a look over there at precious metals like gold and silver, along with the US dollar currency index, or the DXY. We also take a peek over there at any type of financial news to get our day started off, or any type of crypto news. Finally, wrapping it up with hanging out in the chat. Obviously, as we kickstart today, we've got quite a bit of volatility over here in the market, a little bit of a rejection price action happening for Bitcoin up here at its 4.236 extension. We're talking about us being up there yesterday. It looks like it was not able to get a daily candle close above that level. You can see it right on it, and a little bit of a pullback happening here in the market currently today. People waking up. This is the biggest red candle you have seen in quite some time. So a little bit of a reality check in there that this market can do things like this. We're going to talk a lot about Bitcoin in here, kind of going through the hypothesis of the market, right? So I've kind of expressed a lot of the concerns that I have for Bitcoin in regards to going into a full-fledged bull run due to missing elements happening throughout macro markets. But we'll also talk about what most of the market participants believe is happening, which is essentially a repeat of 2016 into 2017, or a repeat of 2020 into 2021. So we'll actually take a look at the price action right now and compare ourselves to those particular moments in time to see if there are similarities in there. I've spent some time trying to express the fact that in those elements, such as the 2013, 2017, and 2020-21 bull runs, we were seeing expansion happening throughout the United States stock market at the exact same time, which we do not have this time around. And really the price action of where Bitcoin is at right now is identical to where the stock market is at as well, where in 2021 it peters out, 4.236 extension, Bitcoin 4.236 extension. So we'll dive into all of that stuff today. But as you can see, big fat red day throughout the cryptocurrency market today. Of course, we've seen the altcoin market get back near retracement levels. So total 3 got very close to a 0.618. The big flush that happened right in there actually goes back to a technical 50% retracement still there. So nothing crazy breaking anywhere here in the altcoin market. But of course, a big flush spooks the market. And you haven't seen many of these recently. So welcome. We will see many of them over time. They happen all the time. Where do we want to begin here? So we'll just go through these things again. XRP, big flush back down, looking for a support to come in. For me, looking for a wave E to show up in here, which consists of another horizontal triangle. So once we can find a support and we see a retracement, that'll be exciting to say B is done, and we still have C, D, and E to go, but still waiting to see that support level come in there first. As for the US stock market, as it kicks open, Dow a little bit better than it was doing in pre-market. It's only down 16 points. In pre-market, it was down like 100. The NASDAQ is down 120 points, and the S&P is down 26 points. So we're about flat on the Dow, down 2/3% on the NASDAQ, down 0.5% over there on the S&P. Winners this morning are Tesla, Netflix, and Caterpillar. Losers are Coinbase, Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple. So kind of the Magnificent Seven all staying down in here. You got a couple other guys up there near the top this morning as we sit still up here waiting for something to happen in here. If we can get a clear break or full rejection, we're still just waiting on it. But Bitcoin sits at 67,514 now. Looking over there at gold up there at 2158. However, silver is having a bigger day. Silver has been rampaging for the last couple of weeks up in here, going from 22.30 now at 25.30. So up almost $3 in a matter of 2 weeks. It's a pretty big move there for silver in such a short time frame. We'll see if it's got enough juice to actually end up finally escaping this range, which has been stuck in for a year. So we'll see what happens there. As for Bitcoin, I think that covers everything there. DXY, how you doing, DXY? 103.41. Bitcoin. All right. Let's talk about where we're at. So there's essentially a lot of hypotheses out there on what's going to happen here with Bitcoin, right? The general consensus of the market is we are starting a bull run. We're starting a bull run way before the block reward halving is even happening, and ETFs and everything's going to go crazy. That hasn't been disproven yet. Some of the things that I've brought to light have been just that we don't have an expansion in the stock market, and we're in a restrictive credit environment, right? We've been in restrictive credit environments before with Bitcoin. We've seen rallies of similar magnitude, right? This is like 350%. This is like 370% happening here during the Fed pause, happening during the Fed pause. Once the cuts start, the price falls apart, What will be real interesting about this, of course, is like we saw with the inflation data. I've been trying to say, this is potentially the moment where the Fed has been checkmated, that the next 5 months of inflation data are actually going to be ticking to the upside. So we'll see how that narrative all plays out in there. But when you go through all of Bitcoin's bull runs, they occur in 0% inflation, 0% or 0.25% federal funds rate environments and loose credit conditions. So we are in the tightest credit conditions that we've ever had, and Bitcoin sits up in here, right? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk about these things, right? And so that's what brings concerns to me for Bitcoin when it comes to like long-term major bull run. We're going to, Kathy Wood says $1 million or $250,000. These are the things that leave me a little skeptical. And in addition to that, the entire run that we've had here has mimicked exactly what this run looked like in here, and then ends with a 5-wave structure in here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's the ending. That's the end of this run, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's also what we've had happen over here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we've gotten there. The only thing that would make this look more similar to itself is really if just this line right here came down a little bit lower like that. Then you'd essentially have precisely the same thing that happened right here, right? That's the only missing element from here to make these any different from each other, right? Comes up, builds a range, breaks out, consolidates, 5 waves, right? Builds up, builds a range, breaks out, consolidates, 5 waves up to the upside. Other things that are just concerning about the particular price level that we're at, like if you look at the daily time frame, you can look over here at the MACD. So we'll take a look at how high this MACD is. You can see the MACD is the highest it's ever been on the daily time frame. And the 2 times we've gotten this high were 1 right in here, 2 right here. And then we almost got that high, but not quite, again, at the peak. So you could just see how much juice has been put in here. And then along with having the bearish divergences emerge here for Bitcoin at this point right now. Those are the concerns I have for Bitcoin. So that's why when I'm looking at all this and like I'm looking at the altcoin market at the same time, thinking of it through the lens of, having to look for an event like this to emerge much earlier than people would expect. Right now, I look over there on Twitter, I see it everywhere. Hey, we're still, 30 days away from the block reward halving. Historically, bull runs last, 300 to 500 days after the block reward halving, which means we still have 1.5 years of this. And I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm going to guess not. I'm going to guess that's not true. Then, you stack on top of it, even to me, it's surprising you got this high and that it actually would go hit it. It hits the 4.236 extension. So things I'm just on alert for is to see if we have events occur like we've historically seen that really do mark that a top is actually already in. If there's some type of continuation in the altcoin market for another big leg to arrive in here, as we could see in something like this, another leg continuing even after Bitcoin was done, right? We don't have that yet. So there isn't like that massive warning sign being flashed just yet. So I don't see that just yet. And so, not like in complete panic or anything like that. But there, the things to pay attention to is just where we're getting with on these retracement levels, right? So anybody who's taking the bet that we are going to see a full-fledged new bull run, bull cycle for Bitcoin, and that we're going to get through that 4.236 extension, also just has to realize, what we also have going for us when it comes to the tighter credit conditions, when it comes to we're not seeing expansion in the stock market. In 2013, 2017, and 2021 all included expansion and 0% rates. We don't have expansion in the stock market, and we have a 5.25 rate for the federal funds rate, and we just hit a 4.236 extension. We're the most overbought, and we've got bearish divergence, right? MACD's all the way up here, and just keeping those things in mind. And so for me, I'm looking for things to kind of emerge sooner than most people would expect. The market has typically been very far behind in their assessment of where we are. And so it's not surprising for them to still think there's at least a year left in this, because the market participants have essentially been a year behind the whole time. If you don't remember, just 6 months ago, the market was screaming we were going to 12K. It was essentially impossible from my view without it being utter absolute destruction of Bitcoin. Even if you had considered, most participants viewing this as the top, we absolutely had shown this was the peak of the market. This is peak of euphoria. This is Wall Street bets. This is laser eyes, diamond hands, all that great stuff, and all the on-chain indicators, all the technical indicators on the big time frame point to it. That's the top of the market. So from a time perspective, you're deep enough in here to literally be starting a new bull run. Like we've shown this here. You just couldn't go set 12K. It just wouldn't be possible, right? So from a time perspective, like to go hit 12K at that point, I don't know. But either way, you're up here at this point. But the problem is all the elements that were happening in the market when we got back to those levels in the past are very different now than they were then. One of those other examples that I've shown has been the altcoin market, right? The altcoin market has performed very well during this time period, and with a significant amount of coins outperforming Bitcoin in this run, which is very different than this run right back in here. So with the level of where we're at in regards to how overbought and the momentum of what we've seen in Bitcoin thus far, there's I'm trying to make sure I do all these things in order. We could reference other points if you think it's going to go higher, but let's just finish this point right in here. There's concerns with Bitcoin's current price level of where it's at, because if it is resembling something like this, then it's going to top and it's going to waffle around in here. It's going to be well in here, and we can pray that we get a lot of altcoin action happening in there as we do something like that in here. But that it's not going to go beyond there, and that is like a broken record at this point. People don't want to hear any of that, and that's okay. I'm just going to show you all the data, and you can decide if any of the data is relevant at all. That this stuff is not important. It doesn't matter, and what happens during rate cuts, right? Okay. But we have seen this before, right? We've seen this action happen here before. We've seen this price behavior happen before, and this is what's happened. And the thing that's going to just throw the big loop in here is to get back to the highs, right? So we know this is at a 4.236 extension. We know there's concern there. The thing looking for is just whether or not we can have, a pullback happen, a retracement, and then we end up seeing, the final leg of what we typically see happen in the market, and it keeps going, right? So that's the main thing I'm paying attention to right now. So I'm not being back at the highs. The easiest thing to do is to get blindsided by what has happened each time we've gotten back to the highs historically. And I get it. And I know these models. We're going to go through these models because I've taught these models. I've gone through previous bull runs, and when we went through this one, we had to constantly reference back to this model. So not only do I have a full understanding of this model, I have a full understanding of this model because I was recording YouTube videos and going through all of this together. But so the concerns are just that we have the 4.236 extension, and my eyes are already open and prepared to see if an element like this emerges much sooner than people would expect. Okay. And so that's just kind of the whole point of that. If we see things like this emerge in here, in an event like that, that I'm just prepared for that ahead of time, and that we'll be talking about that when that, if that ends up coming. Next, we'll talk about what most market participants do believe is occurring, right? So what most market participants believe is occurring is that we're either somewhere like right here, right? Of course, back at the all-time high, or that we're in an element like this, right? Makes perfect sense, right? We're back to the highs. We've been back to the highs before. What happens during all high breakouts? You know, we can just follow those examples. The things that I keep pointing out is these were not the cases in those environments, right? That we had these things and we had stock market expansion, and that this is a technical level of a 4.236 extension. But looking to these examples, like just even looking at, one of the things I've talked about is like even in here, when we got back here, the market wasn't as excited as it is right now. And you can even see that just down here on the daily oscillators down in here on the MACD of where the peak of the 2017 run was back over here. And that we were still just kind of way down in here, right? And then like it took the big breakout for us to actually end up getting excited. And so by the time we had gotten this strong, we were already double the all-time high at this point when we had kind of gotten to this level of strength in here. As you can see, we weren't even that high. We were double the all-time high by the time we had gotten there. So in the examples of previous all-time highs, what would people expect right in here? Well, this is just kind of a standard, first swat back from the all-time high, which would have been that right there. Then poking above the all-time high right in here, right? And then getting swatted back another time, right? Swatted back another time, and then eventually goes for the clear break, right? So as of right now, that model's not broken, right? And if we were to say go take out 59,000, that would not be consistent any longer. But that's what the model would be, right? So that's what people are looking for right now is that, hey, you have your first initial knockback from the all-time high, you get above it, you get swatted down a second time, and then you go. Things we can look at for this particular time period here, such as December, like if we go back and look at the altcoin market at that time, put us on the daily time frame, where was the altcoin market at then? December. Still sitting low, right? So still sitting below the 382. Currently right now, we're all the way up to the 618. So we're a little bit higher than where we would have been at that time. Now, what's interesting though is like looking at from the perspectives of like what we're talking about with how high the MACD has gotten. Suddenly it's like the MACD has actually already gotten way up here. It's almost like we've had massive breakouts happening. We've already gotten all the way up here to January 10th or 11th, which I think I even saw somebody post a super chat or something like that talking about that in before the stream ended up starting. So our strength is almost as if we've already gone through that moment. And what's kind of interesting too is for those who reflected back on the last couple of months as we were watching this, it kind of we for quite a while we had the charts kind of set up like this. Get this off of here. Bitcoin. Many may remember we had our charts kind of set up a little bit like this for quite some time, right? So, and what do? We end up continuing to go. So it's almost like we've already gotten through all of that when it comes to how strong the strength of indicators have gotten and with how high the altcoin market has gotten, getting back to the 618, getting all the way back here to the 618 at this point right here. That puts us at like late January. And so where is this? This is all mid-January, early January, right? So January 7th is right there. January 7th is right here. So, kind of in that same vicinity right in here as if you had actually already broken much further. So kind of keeping that in mind too. What else regarding this one? I think that's about it. Right. And so the reason we're even going through all these is because there's a lot of inconsistent opinions on what is going on in the market. Right. I obviously express my concerns due to not seeing expansion in the stock market, a 4.236 extension of Fed funds rate. The altcoin market has performed much better than it typically does, right? In these examples, we typically see the altcoin market get wrecked in these environments right in here, and we haven't, so something's different. Either we're further along, or something completely different is playing in here. And like I've said, I don't think the 2016 or 2020 models are going to play. I don't think they're going to work out. But I'm going to show you at least the ideas of what people's opinions are out there, because I'm sure you're listening to a lot of opinions, and a lot of people are making a lot of predictions and just not saying, all they're doing is saying, hey, I'm predicting we're doing exactly what we did back in here, or I'm predicting exactly what we did back in here. But what you could see in both of these, as these get back to these all-time highs in here, is like there's an initial swat from the all-time high, a little poke above, and then pulls back, but does not go below the initial knockback from the all-time high. That same phenomenon occurs back in here in 2017, right? So initial knockback happens in here, it goes, pokes up one more time, pulls back, but doesn't go below there, and then continues marching up. So if things started getting dicey out there, you would expect what would be different. Essentially that low, right? That low there at $59,000. You wouldn't want to see that thing get taken out. So long as you're holding above that, you could still kind of continue to play with those ideas of what it's like back at previous all-time highs. But if things started drifting and you got below 59, you lose those ideas slightly. But I wanted to point out from a overbought perspective, and one other thing too, and I even talk about this a lot too, just to keep in mind, is the meme coin stuff. We've seen the meme coin phenomenons happen many times, and they typically occur during extreme euphoria, irrational exuberance, and extreme risk taking. And one of those things we talked about a lot as we were in here in the depths of despair, as we're looking at like Wyckoff accumulation, sign of strength phase, getting back to retracements. We talked about what the retail behavior would be like back in here. It'd be unwavering confidence. And one of those things really gets just represented by the extreme risk taking of meme coins. So just a little caution, right? If you're new to the market, if you haven't seen this before, the meme coin mania stuff is typically a concerning sign. So just keep that in mind. As for in here, right? So like talking about things that I'm looking for is that, I'm less convinced that we're going to go firing off in a way. Am I positioned okay for it to do that? Of course, because I own altcoins. And if altcoins did that, if Bitcoin did that, the altcoins would rip, no matter which reference point you want to rely on. If you want to rely on 2016 and 17, you want to rely on 2020 and 21, and positioned just fine. But what I'm just being cautious about is that if we reject from here, because we know this is where we are with the stock market, and we know this is where we are with Bitcoin at the same time, that they're both at the exact same price levels. So keeping in mind that if there becomes something big and there becomes a retracement, and then we see the things happen in here where this phenomenon occurs while Bitcoin's doing something like that, it's going to be the sky is falling. But moving back to 2016, one thing to keep in mind that like what you should be seeing here, right? So this is another one of those things to say, it's not acting exactly like 2016 or 2017, and that there's your initial knockback, there's your next poke above the high, and then there's your pullback again, right? I mean, that's essentially what we just saw, right? I mean, we essentially got knocked back from it, we go above, and then now we're pulling back down below the high again. What was the dynamic happening in here in the altcoin market at this time? The altcoin market ripped up into that moment of that pullback right in there, right? So the altcoin market went roaring up into there. That's different, right? That phenomenon did not occur just now, right? Maybe it shows up in a minute, right? but you would have expected it to happen already if we were doing something like this, and this thing was going to expand further. So this is again just kind of showing things are a little different. Another phenomenon I showed that's different from that time is I've overlaid this incorrectly. Hold on. This, right? So as Bitcoin roared back up, the altcoin market did get decimated into that time back in 2016 and 17. That also happened back here in 2020, right? So that's kind of like the one thing that nobody wants to talk about. Like, I don't know why I have to be the one to keep bringing this up, and people are curious why. Oh, just okay. But either way, as you can see, the altcoin market did fine during this moment in time on this roar back up. And so, again, I just kind of keep pointing out the facts that there are a lot of elements that are different in market dynamics that are happening here than happened during the breakout of 2020 and the breakout of 2016 and 2017, whether it comes to Fed funds rates, expansion in the stock market, altcoin market behavior, or even, now hitting that 4.236 extension, that I'm still going to continue to approach it from a manner of things smell a little different. And if you're new to the channel, it's of course great on Twitter and fun on Twitter to chastise me as some type of bear. However, I loaded up on the bottom of the market and spent a year and a half dealing with you guys screaming 12K, that I'm just fine, just so you know. But as we get up in here, it's always about, placing the bets. Now it's like, all right, like we got all the indicators, we got all the everything's looking fantastic. I'm loading up. I'm going to dive into my savings account. I'm plowing into the market. We get back up. We get back to some concerning levels to where things are not as crystal clear and wonderful and rainbows and sunshines as down in here when everybody thinks it's dark and doomy and gloomy. We get up in here and everybody thinks it's sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops and everything is fantastic. But there's just a lot of different signs out there to be looking for something different happening in here. Do I cheer for it to be a 2016 or a 2017 repeat? Sure. But there are some things that are just different than those particular moments in time. And we pretty much did the same rally that we did during a Fed pause here, and we just hit a 4.236 extension. So keep that in mind. The positive thing is with where the altcoin market is, it's like these are normal back tests, but if you're not paying really close attention right now to see if things start deteriorating rapidly, and especially if that comes from the United States stock market. If the United States stock market starts setting new lows in here, I get it. Like, everybody wants to run with the narratives that this is not a tied to stock market event that is happening in here. It absolutely is. The whole run with Bitcoin has been with the United States stock market. So keep a close eye on that. If you have no cash position right now, first of all, I'm never going to tell you when to buy. I'm never going to tell you when to sell. But it'll show you all the different things that make the bet not as clear as like what you would want, right? Like if you were wanting to bet that this thing was going to go soaring off and fly off into the stratosphere of the universe, wouldn't you want to be seeing a 0% Fed funds rate? Wouldn't you want to be seeing expansion happening throughout the market? Wouldn't you have wanted to see Bitcoin steal all the thunder away from the altcoin market during this time period, like it did in 2013, 2017, and 2021? Instead, it's acting very different. And just to keep that in mind and like not let your guard down. I don't think a guard can be let down in here, that this is just a complete repeat of what we've done 3 times before, when a lot of things are different in there. I still think we're in like an irrational exuberance. Animal spirits are alive. Markets getting their first taste of some red. Like, wait, what is this? We can go red? Yeah, we sure as heck can. But in the event that this element shows up in here, and wherever it shows up in here, whoever gets the all-time high, great. But, like we learned in 2021, only 17 out of the top 100 ended up getting the all-time highs. Solana right now, look where it's at. It's almost back at its 702 Fibonacci retracement level currently right now. If you've ridden that Solana train, rock and roll. but know where you are. You're back at the retracement levels. This is where extreme euphoria happens. There's probably a lot of FOMOing happening right there. Pay attention to it. It's getting there right now. Just a little bit of caution for Solana. And I'm a fan of Solana people. It is no surprise Solana is doing well. You have all the meme coins going on out there. You have users using the heck out of Solana. It makes sense that the price is going up. Same goes for AVAX. It makes sense. People are using AVAX, Avalanche, and it makes sense that those prices are going up. Just kind of being mindful of where we are at right now. But yeah, so caution. And for those who are new to the channel and think blockchain backer is just some huge bear all the time, you're new. This is normal. We get back into retracement levels. We get back into these areas. We go through a Wyckoff accumulation. We go through a sign of strength phase. You get back up in here. There's going to be a lot of caution here, man. And if you don't have any caution and you're blindsided, well, we talked about it a long time that when we get back here, this is where the retail crowd would go euphoric. And it's expressed via meme coins. Meme coins are the expression of irrational exuberance, the expression of extreme risk-taking and euphoria to see those things doing that. So a little bit of cash might not be a bad thing, right? Been a lot of gains, a little bit of cash. I know I have some. Okay, Bitcoin. Trying to think, is there anything else to say for these ones, right? So you would think you would be seeing, if we were following 2016, you would think you would already see some new all-time highs in some altcoins. Keep that in mind. If we were following 2020 in the price behavior, right? If we said this is not that due to percentages and being in a Fed pause, but if we assumed, hey, this is actually like we are in 2020, your current location of where you're at is actually more representative of you actually already being way above the all-time high currently right now, rather than it being right in here just from technical indicators and price behavior. So, yeah. So caution, and I'm just going to kind of continue being that way until this market can prove itself. You have to realize we haven't reached expansion, right? We have not reached a point where things can zoom out of here. And so like the language that comes out of my mouth of concern and just caution as we're back in the retracements, you're not used to that because we got to spend a whole year and a half being like, bear's going to get left behind, right? Wyckoff, sign of strength phase, we'll break out from it. Now we go through all phases, right? So like you can look at it like total 2 minus USDT, minus USDC, minus DAI, right? We go through all these phases. These are great, right? All of them occurred, right? All of them occurred. Now we are in phase E, right? So now phase E has gotten us back into retracement levels. And now the whole bet is new. Now the whole bet of what happens next is a new bet. This was one whole bet in itself. Now the next bet's a whole new bet. The whole new bet now is what happens here? Does it escape or does it fail? That is the current bet. This bet is essentially done. Now the bet is new. Now the bet is, will the market expand or will it fail? The positive things about the altcoin market in general are things that we talked about during 20. Let's get off of this one. Right. Okay. There's others. Back at 702. What are positive things? Backtesting previous all-time highs, right? Typically, that's a good thing to see. That you bounce from the previous all-time highs, which at that time, buy in the market. We get back here. Now we have to get through these retracement levels. The positive thing was the bounce location in which it occurred. That does make it favorable that the altcoin market has more to go. So it does actually favor it for the altcoin market to go. But the thing that I would be cautious about for that event is something like this, is that it does something like that, and that continuation in the altcoin market does occur during a distribution phase for Bitcoin, like we have historically seen. So keeping that in mind, right? And all these things I'm doing and these scenarios that I'm presenting is because the easiest general consensus throughout the market, the easiest one that everybody is going to follow is 2016 and 2020, that we are literally doing this or that we are literally doing that. And if we had all conditions consistent outside of Bitcoin, just merely sitting back here, if we had all conditions consistent, I'd be in that camp too. And it would benefit my YouTube channel tremendously to have that view, to sit there and say, we're going to the moon, 4.236 this extension again, let us all go. That would benefit my YouTube channel. That would get me clicks. It would get me viewers. It would get everybody hyped. It would be absolutely fantastic to do that. But the conditions aren't the same. And so I present it from that thought process, that the conditions are different, and to keep that in mind. And if things change or something like that, if the stock market goes into expansion from here, then we'll talk about it at the time. But know where you are. Know where you are. And we're going to be mindful and alert and aware to see if an event like this occurs much earlier than anyone expects. The market participants have essentially been 1 year behind the whole time. And right now, they believe there's at least 1 year left of this. What would completely surprise them is if there was only 1 month left. So we're going to keep that in mind and watch it from that perspective in here until the market proves something different. So, right, just kind of keeping all of this stuff in mind, that you are being bombarded with the narrative of it's a 2016-2020 repeat, and to just know things say a little bit different. So, and again, there's not many people with that view that I have. So there's a couple, but it's really a lonely island having this viewpoint. So, all right, there you go. Others gets back to 702. Even if just a correction happened, to understand how devastated this market would be if with a correction like that. Would that destroy this chart? No. But would it devastate sentiment? Would a correction like this devastate sentiment? You better believe it. It would destroy it. All that euphoria, all that excitement you have would be destroyed. So, caution. All right. There you go. Stock market, how are you doing? Dow's down 147, NASDAQ down 203. Winners and losers, Coinbase is a little bit better than it was at the opening, but it looks like the losers are Microsoft, Roblox, Amazon, Meta, and Google. Winners are Netflix, Ford, and GE. Everything's down. Looks like RTY, right? So this is essentially a really good showing of breadth, right? This is one of those things we keep talking about in the market that I talk about that's very different from 2013, 17, and 21 for Bitcoin's bull runs to get going, and for this not to just be a 4.236 extension reach out for Bitcoin, that this is the glaring, screaming thing that something is at play in these markets. And I get it's kind of one of those things like the boy who cries wolf in the middle of it. And then eventually it becomes obvious later. And so right now, just like if you haven't caught my videos where we talk about this, kind of hoping that if you were going to get it, this would have been that chance to get it. But one other thing that's real fascinating to see. So, because we're going to watch the stock market really closely now, because over this past week we got inflation data 2 times. We got it on Tuesday with CPI, which bottomed out higher than most would have expected, and the market knows it right now that the Fed got backed into a corner, and that's not the narrative. Like if we go look at like Bloomberg, Fed seen sticking with 3 cuts despite higher inflation. So they're selling us the idea that despite higher inflation, they're still going to stick with 3 cuts. Don't worry, everything is fine. But inflation's not gone. It's not. And this market, we're going to see if this market just recognized that, and that Bitcoin's peak that happens over here is right around all this inflation data coming out, right? So the big miss of PPI happens right here. CPI miss happens right in here. Keeping these things in mind. And I know it's hard to look at it through these lights when there's so much excitement out there in the market. But I don't think we're going to be wrong. I don't think so. So, okay. Watch. I will keep the eyes open on this. And if the Dow sets a new low, if the Dow comes in and sets a new low in here, we may be seeing things happening in here. And I get it. All the narratives are out there. This is all ETF stuff. This is all everything. This is all sound, ultrasound, beautiful rainbow money that's made by volcanoes and undisputable, distributable, lickable ledgers. But it's the stock market. Okay, we'll jump into the news. So just caution out there. We're looking at it through a different light. I'm not looking. Just when you tune into this channel, you're getting a different opinion and a different view of what you're going to get throughout crypto Twitter and likely YouTube. And you don't have to agree with the things that I show, but I'm presenting it because it's what I see. And so if you see it and you're aware of it, you can take that in as part of your research and your education on how the markets have behaved historically. And I'm doing my best over here to present the big picture as good as I can. Right, I'm very rehearsed on what these bull runs were like. Very rehearsed on what it was like to get back to these all-time highs. And I'm very rehearsed on what the macroeconomic conditions were at that time and what the altcoin market behavior was like at that time. And what I'm telling you is what is happening here. None of those other elements throughout other markets are consistent with this right here. And that's the point I'm trying to make. Am I a future teller? No. But we're all making speculations, right? And we're all trying to take in as much information as we possibly can, right? And so what we do is we hang our hat on a narrative and to say, well, none of those things really matter because of ETFs. And I don't have a way to measure that and to do anything on that outside of, say, it's a speculation hype narrative. I don't have a way to measure that in any way to say that can override all the other forces at play. So if these elements show up much earlier, I think one of the things that would happen in that circumstance is that if we saw, like we talked about in here, where you saw the altcoin market rallying up in here like that, where it really rallies up and like we're doing something like this and the altcoin market like rallies up into that moment, it's going to actually be perceived as this moment, right? And it's going to be perceived as we're going for breakout, we're going for expansion, we're going for everything like that, but that it might not be. Right, and that's the point, and that's just kind of what I'm bringing to the table here. So, I know that people don't want to hear these things right now because of just the state of the market and where it's at in regards to euphoria. And euphoria is easily measured by meme coins. So, excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. And yeah, so just keeping it in mind. And right, a thing, and of course, like if the stock market reverses and we go breaking out into all-time highs, I'll shut my dang mouth. I'll be like, wait, whoops, all right, everything looks good. We're expanding. If the Russell starts expanding, be like, whoa, okay, wait a minute, things look really good, but we don't have those right now, right? And so that's the thing. If we had them, I'd be in the camp. I'll make the thumbnails with my mouth wide open and be like, oh my gosh, look what I found. Big green arrow pointing up and saying, oh. But we don't have that. And just so you know, I've never made a thumbnail like that before. But yeah, so all those are missing, right? And I do know that all the predictions out there, all the bull run stuff is all just saying, we're here. That means it's like we're right here. And that means it's like we're right here. And I just am showing you that all the other things out there in the world are very different from those particular moments in which all those other things in the world were identical each time those moments happened in the past. And they are different right now. So keeping all of that in mind. Okay, that was just like a long ramble at this point. And so essentially, still just looking to see if we can have a moment like that occur in here if things get carried away. Again, like it's always been, I'm going to take stuff off the table, but leave them in bag, right? Like if the market rampages, great. But if the market crumbles, then hey, I've got some stuff off the table at the exact same time. And we're getting into those areas where those things could happen at. So we'll keep tracking it day by day. On another note, this week has been kind of a rough week because I've been incredibly sick. I tried to fake it till I make it as long as I could until I felt it was getting a little too obvious that my streams were getting too short and I was just rushing through information. But I would like to let you know, I did wake up without a fever today. So today has been a much better day. It's the first time I didn't wake up with hot sweats throughout the night. I've been on an antibiotic and stuff, and I'm feeling much better. So it feels good to do, geez, a 46-minute ramble. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Okay, let's get through some stuff. All right. So there you go. Others, yeah, back to the retracement levels. Total 2, total 3. Right? It was actually let's go. Why does this thing fall off like that? It's so annoying. Okay, there you go. Technical backtest on total 3 still. XRP looking for the wave E. So we put out a video happening in there. So A, B, C, D, E. And then within wave E, looking for an A, B, C, D, E. All right, so waiting still for us to find a support. And then once it goes back into a retracement level in here, then we will have our third range boundary and our floor should hold. But we still have to have that floor get set first. And so waiting for it. If we can get back into retracement levels, that will indicate that the floor is set and we should be in a consolidated range before a break. Okay, stock market. Slight improvement from where it was moments ago. Dow is down only 85. S&P is down 25. NASDAQ down 153. Coinbase moves back to the top of the list. So there you go. Coinbase recovering throughout the day with GE, Ford, and Caterpillar. Losers are Roblox, Microsoft, Amazon, and Apple. Silver still killing it this morning. Gold slightly back into the green. DXY 103.34. All right, moving over to, we're going to rush through the news because I did not realize how late we were into this already. S&P 500 futures fall as Wall Street wraps up volatile week. This week provided a reminder that inflation isn't going away anytime soon. Boom. Yes. Not just a reminder. Think about it for a minute. Is the Fed checkmated? Are they in checkmate? And what does that mean? Goldman is making a big call to clients to hedge for a market decline. Here's what it recommends. All right, Fed seen sticking with 3 2024 cuts despite higher inflation. A recent pickup in inflation isn't likely to shift Federal Reserve policymakers' forecasts, according to economists. Why the stock market doesn't care about rate cuts. Right. Because market tends to do very well during pauses, which is what we've talked about. All right, stocks, treasury steady at end of volatile week. Bank of America says record rush to U.S. stocks ignores stagflation risk. Bitcoin extends retreat from record as bubble talk escalates. Okay. Economists say the Fed will stick with 3 rate cuts in 2024. Polls are open in Russia with Putin all but certain to win another term. And Bitcoin extends its retreat. Excuse me. American debt stings like never before in new era for households. Fannie Willis can stay on Trump election case if prosecutor is removed. Georgia judge rules. Cointelegraph, moving over to crypto news now. Ethereum ecosystem needs a major mindset shift for global impact, says Vitalik Buterin. Bitcoin shorts stay absent amid very normal sub 66 Bitcoin price dip. South Africa's digital nomad crypto hub, Cape Town Crypto City Guide. Great Web3 games should be fully, not partially, on chain. El Salvador's Bitcoin wallet gets sats, cats, and a cypherpunk manifesto. WorldCoin, Trail of Bits audit shows no vulnerability for Orb software. That's foreshadowing that there will be something. All right. El Salvador Bitcoin wallet gets sats. Okay, we already got that. Did you just do that twice? They did it. They put it right here on Editor's Choice, and they put it over here in Hot Stories. All right. Ethereum stands are putting the B movie on Blob for as little as $5. Bitcoin sudden 7% retreat. Sees $660 million in liquidations in one day. Didn't get an upgrade, goes live. Yeah, it was actually more than that. Let me go look. Bitcoin liquidations. We actually ended up seeing... now it's a little bit less. Before we went live, the number was actually $813 million in liquidations. So that's a big number, right? So we had about $1 billion here. We had about $1 billion here, and I don't think we even had $1 billion here during FTX. So that's a major number to have in one day. Because over the course of the last year and a half, it puts it in the top five days that we've had in the market and when it comes to liquidations. All right, that's it for Cointelegraph. CoinDesk, Bitcoin tumbles to 67K as Asia begins trading day. I always find that such a weird thing people do. Hey, Asia's about to wake up. Over 100 million in Bitcoin long positions have been wiped out as the world's largest digital asset fell from 70K. El Salvador has thousands more Bitcoins than previously known. The Central American nation moved $400 million in Bitcoin to a cold storage wallet this week. All right, gold investors aren't switching into Bitcoin, JP Morgan says. Yeah, I doubt it. I do watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, though, when it comes to gold and stuff, and buying and selling is about equal, but people are bringing in their gold to sell it retail. And it's always interesting because typically when retail's coming in to buy massive amounts, they're usually buying tops. And then when they come in to sell a lot, they're usually selling at the wrong time too. So it's an interesting time in gold being in all-time highs, right? And all-time highs at the 4.236 extension of the stock market and Bitcoin. Okay, there you have it. We're jumping into the chat, trying to think if there's anything else going on. Right, next week is going to be very busy for me, right? So we'll have a completely interrupted markets in the morning week, have very low expectations for the channel next week. You guys could check out xrpgoldcoast2024.com. There's a link in the description in here. And get ready for, we'll be presenting a lot of the developer activity data, which has been fascinating to see so far this year, how well that has performed versus the market and versus Bitcoin. That the vast majority have outperformed Bitcoin. All right, Zish. Doesn't total 2 on January 11th, 2021 look awfully similar? Year-to-date flush near 702. If we hit 702 now, it'll look like the 11th and 21st. Do you get what I see? Yeah, so we kind of went through that, right? Like that it's not unusual for us to be at these levels for the altcoin market with Bitcoin where it's at, right? So we all kind of expect the same thing. We all think, all right, look, we've gotten back to these levels. When we got back to these levels historically, where was Bitcoin? And it's all kind of similar and stuff like that, right? But, will Bitcoin expand from here? And that's the big question, right? We go back and we keep looking and using the past examples to reflect on them. And the points I just keep trying to make is that, do I want that? Of course I want that, right? I want us all to 10 or 20x our portfolios over the next 3 to 5 months. I would love for that. But in order for me to be like coming on here and putting crazy thumbnails and stuff like that, I would like feel way more comfortable if conditions were similar to that, in which they're not, right? They're not. There's a tight, it's just not, it's not similar. And so that's the thing that concerns me in regards to that we may see something show up early in regards to a distribution in Bitcoin, while most participants expect it to be just the beginning of a bull run. And that's typically how it goes. Is that, we crawl all the way up, everybody's scared of 12K the whole time, and we get here and they're like, this is just the beginning. That is the story every time. The story every time is this is just the beginning. And then they talk about block reward halvings, which again, for the 4th time, prove they're not important. They don't matter in regards to when Bitcoin touches a new all-time high. And so then, okay, so we do 300 days after the block reward halving, and then that's how much, we have over a year left of this. Well, you were a year behind, so you may want to knock a year off of that. You may have a lot less than that. But yeah, so I mean, like if you're using examples and like comparing to 2020 and 2016, then you're thinking to yourself, hey, look, we're just right here. We got to keep going and we got to keep expanding and everything's going to be crazy. And we're all looking for the exact same things to happen for Bitcoin. And so essentially the exact same things to happen for Bitcoin are that this low holds, right? As long as that low holds there at $59,000, then technically all is well in the universe, right? Because this is what has happened in 2016 and in 2020. Knocks back from the all-time high, goes above the all-time high, falls back down again, but doesn't take out that low. As long as that thing stays in place at 59K, then you are still technically being honest with the data that you can look at 2016 and 2020, right? And in the event that we go taking out these lows way down in here, we'll already have seen carnage in the market. It will already have been bad, and people will already be crying in that event that we get down in there. And so a lot of times in markets, we have to try to speculate way ahead. And most market participants don't do that. They do it in the literal moment in time. And that we get way down, and then things suddenly look bad once we're already way down, and then they sell low because they think it's going to go lower because things are already bad. And when things are high, they think things already look really good. The data is so good. The news is so good. We're only going to keep going higher. And then it turns around on really good news. And that's how it always ends up working. But either way, as long as we're still holding 59K, this is actually still technical normal behavior back at all-time highs. The things that I'm just expressing is that I see some things out there that are different, and we're paying attention to them. And what I would love to do is to just make YouTube content saying we're going to the moon, and just love to do that. But I have to present the data the way I see it, and that there's some differences in there. But as long as we're holding here, still technically okay. Barry Roddick, is there sufficient volumes in Bitcoin alts like XRP to justify getting up to higher fibs? It doesn't feel like it is. So, right, so here comes we're going to get the concern now. You get a red day, everybody's going to get scared. Look at the past behavior of how it happens. It really just turns on like a faucet. It is not something that happens in regards to just slight turn on. It's just a big flip that ends up happening. And dang, I wish I didn't say that word, because you know what's going to happen. 30 YouTube videos. The big flip of the switch. All right, Ethan Davis says, happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone. Dude, I did not even know it's St. Patrick's Day. Is it St. Patrick's Day? No, it's Sunday. Okay, little do I know. Okay, happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. Flying Sean. Yo, BCB, what's the story behind PTW's participation trophy wife nickname? Are members safe from the algorithm so we can play the Tay-Tay frog? Maybe I can do it during members only. That might be okay. I didn't think about it that way. Yeah. I don't know how she came up with that name. This is maybe 10 years ago. I don't really know the story of why that name was chosen. I'll ask her, though. I think it was just kind of funny. I don't know. North Torrent says, do you think crypto is going to steal the stock market liquidity? It doesn't usually work like that. It's usually when the stock market goes south, crypto goes south with it. Right? And I think that's what a lot of people always want from me. They want me to speculate on a lot of narratives that come out. And that's just not what we do here, right? I show you the data. I show you behavior of how things have happened. And, right, will the market behave like that? Don't know. But this is how it has behaved in these particular conditions. And you don't have any references to go back and think that could be true. That stock market crumbles, but crypto rises from the ashes like a phoenix. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that for the last 7 years. And it's just not true. Crypto goes up with the stock market. Crypto goes down with the stock market. And that has not been any different of Bitcoin's behavior. Thus far. This is the thing that they don't want you to see. It goes against the narrative. It goes against the story. It goes against the fantasy to look at it through this light and to understand how these rallies take place for Bitcoin and the falls, the retraces, the whole thing, the whole way down, all happening with the stock market, and the bottom happening with the stock market, and then you overlay reverse repo. What do you know? Bitcoin tops as the reverse repo facility opens. Bitcoin bottoms as the money floods out of the reverse repo, right? And whoop, and then all the markets go, right? Like that there are all these other conditions and these other things pulling at the strings outside of the narrative. And it's very easy to just sit there and point to the narrative and say it's the magic of Bitcoin when it's definitely bigger things at play. Whether the markets operate on 4-year liquidity cycles or whatnot, it's not the halving. It's definitely with broader markets. And again, for the win again, the Dow Jones is the winner again for the 4th time now, right? The consistency of the breakout for Bitcoin happening, or the new all-time high touch for Bitcoin happening much closer to a Dow Jones new all-time high than the block reward halving, right? So now not only did it not it's happened before the block reward halving, but still like within 100 days of the Dow Jones setting the new all-time high. So the stock market wins it again. And it just proves that once again, the stock market is the pulling force. The liquidity in the markets is the pulling force. But everybody wants to say, no, it's like institutions. We front run institutions. And being around long enough, I know that institutions don't lose. They always win. And retail doesn't. The retail ends up getting washed somehow. So that narrative doesn't quite work. something net play. So, all right. We got to move a lot faster. Janice says, oh, wait. Oh, there you go. Ethan says, correction, St. Patrick's Day is Sunday. Haha. Yes. I had to look it up. Janice says, hey, 0x is getting really close to 702. I'm really confused. Should I let go or hold for more? No div data, though. Difficult decision. I'm just thinking out loud. Yeah, if you're asking me to tell you to buy or sell, you're not going to get it. You know where it is. Now you get to make the decision of will it get through or will it reject? JJ Jacob, pullback and retrace while others new high was only plus 100%. Pullback and retrace while others new high was only plus 100%. Are we talking about 2021? Maybe, yeah. Pitbull. We should talk about the fact that there probably won't be a real altcoin season. Most are now sitting on altcoin bags and waiting the rotation. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, that's one thing I've pointed out a lot of, is that the altcoin market has performed so well that a lot of the percentages for the altcoins were made in the run up in Bitcoin. And a lot of people have played this market to ride Bitcoin up and rotate it to altcoins now, which they would have been no better off, just being in those altcoins in the first place. So that's where there's going to, will it pan out better? I still think it will probably pan out better, that the altcoins, there still will be a benefit on the rotation, but there was, like I pointed out and talked about a lot on that dev data, we went through the top 20 developer activity coins in October. 14 out of 20 have outperformed Bitcoin during that time. There was no rotation play to do there. Those all ran away from Bitcoin. So as for rotating into those, there is no rotation. They've already gotten away. But yeah, it does seem to, like, here's what we could pray for, right? Bitcoin somehow went off and hit its 2018 4.236 extension. Maybe we can get so lucky. Right? Maybe we can get so lucky to get something like that in total 2 or in total 3 or in others, right? Right. No, others did way better, but in total 2 or total 3. Right. So this is going to everything excluding the top 10 of the crypto market. So others has already gotten there, but maybe we can reference on total 2 or total 3, which would include Ethereum as well, right? But it does seem difficult unless you get a full-blown expansion out of Bitcoin that can crack through 73K. And not 73, but 74,000. If it can crack through 74, if the Dow Jones can't crack through the 4.236 extension, it seems hard to imagine that we would get some full-fledged thing where the market multiplies itself by 5 times over, right? So maybe some of the early runners are already done, right? Maybe Solana's already done. Maybe AVAX is already done. They're already back, or at least Solana's already back at its 702 retracement. But like examples like we've talked about over here, like in gold, right? In Wyckoff accumulation, we have our sign of strength phase, we break out, we do set the new high in here, right? We come in and set a new high, but not by much, right? It really gets stalled out just after getting in a new all-time high. And what does it do? It does that same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves out there, and then it's done. And it's like, hey, it's not unreasonable to think that could happen here, right? That we just kind of end it with something like that, which gets us over there and there. And right. And where does that go to? Who are the winners? Who are the losers? We'll have to watch and see at that time. Having expectations that everybody's going to be a winner and everybody's going to be an all-time high. We've beaten that like a drum. I spent all of 2023 traveling across the country to learn about the dynamics and differences of what happened in 2021 versus 2017. Only 17 out of the top 100 ended up going into new all-time highs, right? Having the expectation that everything will go into an all-time high is unreasonable based on what we saw in 2021. Just unreasonable. So who will be the winners? Who will be the big ones to take it over in an event like that? We'll have to see. Right. But this still doesn't seem unreasonable to happen. But to think that, you're going to go skyrocketing off into the stratosphere, you need a lot of other things to happen to line up for something like that to occur. And I think one of them would have to be, you'd have to see expansion in the United States stock market. You're going to have to see the Dow Jones break through the 4.236 extension, and you're going to need to see Bitcoin get through the 4.236 extension. Those 3 elements all align, then we can sit there and entertain the ideas of ridiculousness throughout this market. And I'm all up for entertaining ridiculousness throughout the market as long as other elements show up and play. But we just don't have them right now. But still, behavior like this still seems reasonable And who will be the winners and who will swallow it and who will be the champs of that is still yet to be seen. Pat gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, brother. Sir Chavez, happy Friday, BCB. Just wanted to hear your comment on Boeing with all the bad news and price getting slammed. Chart gives you the news. I have not even paid attention to Boeing. Boeing Company, the. Yeah, not pretty. Not pretty. Yeah, you know what was weird about this one too? Like I always found bizarre. I've talked about this on the channel too. That, you know, we got here and like getting stopped out by the 4.236 extension. And then price breaks out. And then it was like almost like, oh no, that's not supposed to happen. And then a major plane crashes like in Ethiopia and kills like 200 people. And that marked the top. And then, I mean, it's not funny. It's just that weird for that to happen. And you could probably go back test my dates to see if I'm being truthful with you here. That probably happens right around here in March of 2019. Let's look it up. March 2019. Boeing crash. Here it is from Wikipedia. Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 was scheduled international passenger flight and on March 10th, 2019. Aircraft operated and crashed, killing all passengers. That was really weird because I had actually been following the Boeing chart at that time. I'm like, dude, what the heck, man? I can't believe it. It got through. That's insane. And then boom, that happens and that marks the top of it. And then it just completely crumbles on itself, never to recover again. Pretty wild. But yeah, I don't even know what the news for Boeing is right now. I guess obviously they've had plane problems lately. And I guess some dude, like the whistleblower died or something like that. Rico's Cryptro. Hey, BCB, please explain, after all this negative signs for Bitcoin and from the stock market, do you still see XRP going almost to $10? And specifically, Bitcoin falls around where you pointed to. Do you see XRP holding the 53? It should hold 53. Yeah, in a retracement, right? As long as the market takes off into distribution of Bitcoin, that's what I'm looking for. But if signs emerge that problems are ahead, I'll scream them. As long as I don't get surprised by it, I'll scream them early if I have to. Brian Parrott. Hey, BCB, tinfoil hat moment. On a fib, look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average 2000 high to the 2009 low, which is a 4.236 extension equals COVID. Makes me think, what would happen? What will the top look like now? No, I guess he's going like this. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, we're just kind of ignoring everything. And that's the thing that just kind of keeps me on concern about this too, is that leading into this, we talked all about this stuff. How many times did we reference back to this time period during the Fed pause, right? We talked all about that, how like watching this, when we were watching all this stuff in here of what would happen, in that you could get out here and you get out during the Fed pause and then it roll over. Like let's put it on here. I know people who watch markets in the morning a lot saw this over and over again. Before it ever got out. Right. This is what we talked about. And this, of course, is during a pause, which this was all during a pause. And so we get this, and now everybody is, of course, irrationally exuberant and excited and euphoric. And I'm like just being like who I need to be. Being like, hey, look, we did it. Yay. But be cautious. Be careful. But nobody wants to hear that. Jonathan Nessia, hey BCB, you said yesterday that a correction in the markets is due, and I agree. But what I do not understand is why 50%. Because that's what crypto does. You don't make you don't have altcoins go up hundreds of percents and then them not take back a lot. That's just what happens every time. Massive moves, massive corrections. And some do less and some do more, right? Jonathan, if you're new to crypto and not familiar with what the corrections are like in here, you typically see them, and you see them in big numbers. Most people are not emotionally capable to be in crypto. Most people, even people in it, have a very difficult time emotionally handling crypto. And, that's just, it is what it is. And people overdo it. People, when prices get like this, people overexpose themselves. People come running in with money. And you see that with all the leverage flushes that happen in there. People overexpose themselves. And just while we're in here, while we're back at all these retracement levels and stuff, I'm just going to be cautious. And I know everybody wants to hear, tell me. What I was able to do for the last year and a half is to say, we have Wyckoff accumulation, right? We're working on last point of support. Now we're working on sign of strength phase. Then we're looking for expansion into phase E. These are the things I was able to do for you for the last year and a half on this channel. Okay. Now that we get back into these areas, this is where things just get a lot messier. And it's always been like that into retracement levels, that they get very messy in here. And the market has to tell us the direction of what's happening in here. I could get you unwavering confidence to get through here. I could sit there and still, even in here, expect for phase E to show up in here and for us to be able to get that additional move up higher. But as we're in here now, this market has to decide. And if you're looking for fortune telling, everybody's got their own different opinion. If you had all similar conditions to be super clear in expansion in the market, zero Fed funds rate, and if the altcoin market got hammered while Bitcoin ran back up, we would say everything is exactly the same of what it's like for us to go zooming off into la la land. But they're not the same. Everything is very different. So the bet is now new. Getting back here, the bet now becomes new. On now, Wyckoff's done, sign of strength phase is done. Phase E is done. Now the question is, do you get out? And what most retail investors is, they'll be 100% long betting that it will get out. And I'm just trying to express that even I have cash position. And if this market rips and flies to the upside, hallelujah, hallelujah. But these are often times where just extreme caution here, right? That's just how it goes. It's not inconsistent with anything I've ever said on the channels, that when you get back to these things, there's caution. We got to get through them, right? And for, I find more optimism that it can get through just due to what Bitcoin is doing. But I think the picture of the market and the way it's being painted by everybody by saying we are repeating 2020, we are repeating 2016, and not only are we repeating them, but we're 10x more bullish than that because we're doing it a month before the block reward halving. I think that's all wrong. And I think I think there's going to be a tremendous amount of wrong footing in this market when the time does come. Tattooed Bandit gifted a BCB membership. Brother, thank you. Andy Philpott gifted 10. Thank you so much, Andy. Mets Media, if Bitcoin does stall out here in the altcoin market at 702, do you want it more profitable alts break through? How does XRP look for it finishing wave E? I think we've already covered that when it comes. Oh my gosh, I'm 40 minutes behind on these things, and I'm already an hour and 19 minutes in. So I'm going to go a lot faster, guys. So I think we've already covered that. Mets. Nick, thank you very much, Mets. Nick, when you say you have cash, do you mean for a pullback and a retracement into a 702 for Bitcoin? Have a feeling that we have hit the top with all the signals you presented and are entering on a distribution phase? No, I'm not, I don't have any plan for the cash position that I have right now. So like the cash position for me is actually not more of buying a dip. It's more of actually if the market proves that it's going to go higher. And a thing I'm looking for that evidence would be with Ethereum. If Ethereum can recover in here, so it's actually normal for this to happen. So one things we've talked about with Ethereum has just been this whole thing. And that this is an extended flat correction, right? That it's actually perfect. Even the measurements are. I have a whole video on it. We talked about it recently. We have examples of extended flats for Ethereum happening back in here. And in this extended flat, you can see it gets even above the 786. It pulls back into retracement levels. Then it marches up. If we see Ethereum recover quickly and go flying to the upside, that's going to be a pretty optimistic sign for the altcoin market. And that's kind of where we're at right now with Ethereum, right? So I'm personally much more optimistic on the altcoin market than I am on Bitcoin. And maybe it is just a liquidity bleed out of Bitcoin. It might be. But my cash isn't really for dip buying. My cash is actually for market prove yourself. If market can prove itself, right? And that's what most people cannot handle, right? If you sell anything in here and then the price goes up, says, ha, bet you wish you held longer. And it's like, okay, you want to be a day trader, it sounds like. Do you have any idea how to do it? Because clearly you don't. Sometimes you have to do things and let yourself get invalidated. But one thing we didn't do is miss out and get washed around in here, which most retail investors did. They got themselves completely washed in here. We didn't, right? We got back up in here. Now, after getting the hundreds of percent rises, it's like, all right, now market, now prove yourself. Okay. So dip buying, no. But prove yourself. Yeah. D&D says, did you just tell me it's different this time? If you know, you know. Love you, brother. Yeah. So that's the argument, though, that all the data suggests no, but everybody will say, but it is different this time because of ETFs. You know what I mean? That's the argument. That the narrative and the story is always the thing that keeps people holding on. Kind of like when Bitcoin was topping in 2021. What was the narrative that was keeping people holding on? Tesla and Elon Musk buying Bitcoin and adding it to the balance sheet. Brian Metzger, member, new, welcome, brother. Andy Philpott gifted 5. Thank you so much, man. Did I miss any? Oh, we're good. Gifted Andy, thank you very much, Andy. Kurt Meyer, Solana will accelerate 8x with Firedancer update with Google and Visa as official validators for the first decentralized smartphone app store. Maybe, but it's at its 702 retracement right now. So keep your eyes on that. You know. Me Jules Company says, crypto is a roller coaster. It's fun to drop. Makes your belly feel good, right? Except when the real one happens. Then you want to crawl into a corner and start crying. Like Luna. That was brutal, man. So, all right, there you have it. So as of right now, you're still safe when it comes to if you're going to use 2016 and 2020 as your reference points, as long as 59K is holding your chart. If you're only using the chart of Bitcoin, you have your similarities there. of these two events of 2016 and 2020. But there are a lot of elements that are missing elsewhere. So we'll keep our eyes on it. And if you didn't catch the whole stream, go back and rewatch a lot of it and just kind of understand, right? I try to point out all of this stuff, not to like be a negative Nancy. The easiest thing to do to come on here is to just point to 2020 and point to 2016. It'd be so easy to do it. The thing about those time periods is that all the data was like the same. Like the data of like 2020, excuse me, before we broke out, the data was all the same as 2016 and 17 and as 2012 and 2013. It was all the exact same. And so we had very consistent data for 2013, 2017, and 2021. And the data is very different today. And that's the point. And I'm just trying to show. So. Benjamin Berry, most volatile market and our best holding did a 2x. Your best holding did a 2x? That stinks, man. Yeah. I think I've had several 8s and 9s, and I don't know if I've had any 10s, but definitely 8s and 9s. Yeah. One more song. Bagger says one more song. Has Bitcoin, has it played the last song? Is everybody screaming one more song? Watch the market get foolishly wild next week because BCB is off. Well, hey, man, go for it. Go for it. Mike Laba. We got the Solana bots in here, I think. Why would you tell people buy Solana here if you're not a bot, right? You would have to be a bot or like such a naive retail investor to think coming into a chat and screaming buy Solana is going to do anything. Tell me how long you are right now. All right, there we go, guys. All right, that's it. So we've wrapped up the week. So we're going to have a short week next week. You know, as long as we like see some positive signs or something kind of flip around in here, it's no surprise Solana and AVAX are holding strong. And this is kind of data that we've talked about for the last 6 months with like user activity levels and developer activity levels. These boys right here, they're in the top contenders of what users are using. And that's important. And we've tried to reiterate that a lot for quite a while now, how important that is. So it's not a surprise to see that those two in particular are still holding so well. But, you know, just be careful of the current levels that you're at least for Solana right now. But congratulations, Solana people. Goes to show. So, all right. There we go. There we have it. Any other look around over there at the stock market? How's it doing? It looks like it's kind of calming down a little bit. Dow Jones is down only 37 points now with the NASDAQ down 117, S&P down 15. More green in the market. You got Coinbase up 3%, followed by GE, NVIDIA, and Caterpillar. Losers of the day are Amazon, Roblox, Microsoft, and Apple. Looking over there at crypto, Bitcoin holding a little bit more steady now at 68,479. Keep your eyes out. Everything is still holding okay. Just if you took out 59K, things would start looking a little sketchy. So that'll be the thing to kind of keep your eye on throughout the weekend. Otherwise, little correction. You know, it's okay for now, but do know that was the 4.236 extension right there, and it was not able to close a daily candle above it at that time. As for XRP, looking for it to find a retracement level. So long as it can go find a third range boundary, then be proving that we have our range for wave E, which we would still bounce around in here for some time, is what my expectations would be. But that we would at least be able to say, hey, that has a very high likelihood of being the bottom. On shorter time frames, you do see bullish divergences emerging in there, but we still need to see some type of evidence show up of a bottom. And I just wouldn't be surprised if we have to set one more bullish divergence down in here. But for the bulk of it, I would expect probably the bulk of it is done. Otherwise, keep your eyes on Bitcoin. Don't, 59K is a long ways to go from here, but as long as you're above it, you're still okay, Bitcoiners. Gold again, is it gonna close higher than last week? Looks like it might have unless it recovers about another $13 today. It looks like maybe it'll have a little bit of a pullback week. However, silver had a big week, up 58 cents today alone. So up over $1 for the week for silver. Will it get its breakout in here? That'll be a big thing to watch. Precious metals getting their breakouts historically are concerning signs for markets in here. So these are, again, one of those other things that we've talked about to say, hey, that's another factor. And that's why I just keep reiterating it. Like I can look at the Bitcoin price chart all day. I could sit there and I can overlay this stuff all day. Like I get it, man. Like I've taught this stuff for years. I've been doing YouTube videos for 5 years. Like I teach this stuff. Like when we got the bottom, we knew it because why? We were too far into it. The top of the market was back here, not here. And that's why people screaming for 12K didn't know how far along we were. That people were still screaming for 12K over here in October, 6 months ago, that you couldn't do it. I get it. I know all this stuff. But what you have is very interesting behavior throughout all markets. And you can deny it all you want, that this thing follows the stock market. But in my opinion, it's very naive to believe it doesn't. It's very naive to think that we aren't following the stock market in here. So when we see gold breaking out, high Fed funds rate, you don't see expansion in the stock market. You hit a 4.236 extension. I do just have to come on here. And while I want to be the guy, I desperately want to be it. I don't want to be this guy. I don't like it. This should be my time of celebration. Spent a year and a half dealing with just stalkers, trolls, crap posting on Twitter nonstop. That we were in accumulation and that we were getting out of there. And we get back up here, and you got to issue the caution, and it's just like the reversal. The crowd turns on you again, right? And it's not fun to do it. I don't do this because I want to play a villain or I want to play a role of the bad guy, and it's not beneficial to my channel to do it. And so when I say all this stuff, it is just to say some things are different. I would love to be this guy. I would love to be it. I'd love to be it. Hopefully it's what we got. But the conditions are all very different. And these things happening in metals are historically not good signs. And those things happening in metals are actually typically what happens like in here. And it actually is exactly what happened in here back before the great financial crisis, when we had elevated rates, when it peaked, and then gold broke out. That's exactly what happened. So, pray to God I get egg on my face. I'll take it all day. I'd rather have been talking about this stuff for a long time than have not been. So, all right, there we go. We're going to head into the weekend. Keep your eyes on 59K. As long as you're above 59K for Bitcoin, you haven't broken anything from 2020 or 2016. You're still acting okay. We'll keep our eyes on the altcoins. Hopefully we get a little bit of recovery today throughout the market, and it finds a not temporary, but it finds bottom in there for the altcoin market to continue marching its way back up. As for XRP, it looks pretty good to say we could be very close to finding the range lows. But once we do find the range lows, still, even if it shoots back up, I expect there would be a lot of euphoria and excitement. But I still would be anticipating that we actually still have to range for a little while before anything fun can excite and exciting can happen. But we should be on the brink of it. And so that's what I'm excited for. Looking throughout Solana, again, Solana's up at the 702 Fibonacci retracement level. Keep an eye on that. Otherwise, just still a lot of stuff out there to play catch up, but there's a lot of stuff that's led the way. So it's been kind of an exciting time. Otherwise, for news, there wasn't really a whole lot of news out there, except the inflation narrative is now going to change and what the Fed is going to do. And that's really unfortunate that it is going to be what day is it going to be? Next Wednesday, right? Next Wednesday. We normally live stream those. I do not know if we are actually going to be able to live stream that. We might. Wait a minute. We might. Because those things are at like 2 p.m. Eastern time, which may be like 6 a.m. there. Maybe we can. Maybe we can do the Fed meeting live. I'll see what I can do. Because we got the laptop. I'll test it out yesterday. Anyway, as for being sick, it has been a weird week for me, fighting through it and then trying to hide it from you the entire time. Last night, I did not have a fever. Unfortunately, my son, who did actually end up having he kind of had it earlier in the week. He went back to school and he was all fine. And then like 2 days later, he went downhill again. And then last night, we actually had to take him to urgent care. And so we didn't actually get into bed till about 10 o'clock last night as he got put on like steroids and all this stuff. And that was a rough night last night, but he's seeming okay this morning. And so it has been just a rough battle over here. But I fortunately have turned the corner. And for a couple of nights in a row there, I was in pretty rough shape. But today was the first day I wake up and I'm feeling way better. So otherwise, guys, I hope that you are all doing well. Take care of your health. And keep an eye on 59K. So I wish you all an absolutely wonderful weekend. Keep your eyes out. I'll have another newsletter posted later this afternoon. We're going to kind of analyze how the altcoin market has been performing, where the money has been flowing to, what have been the hot sectors in the altcoin market, and see how those sectors have done so far. So that'll be posted probably later this afternoon. And then otherwise, I'll catch you guys on Monday. Till then, check out bcbacker.com. Check out the newsletter. They all have audio recordings in there. If you want to learn about the altcoin market, you want to learn about what's going on in the market and all these case studies that I've done about these different sectors of the market, including developer activity. That's on blockchainbacker.substack.com. That's a link in the description of this live stream and all of my videos. bcbacker.com if you'd like 40 videos. It's over 11 hours of content. Link in the description as well. Otherwise, you guys, have an absolutely wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this live stream and give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I'm not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.